Everyone around you seems to be accelerating. Not slowly, not gradually, rapidly. Promotions appear overnight. Businesses explode in months. People you once stood beside now look like they're miles ahead, waving from a place you can't even see yet. And you're not lazy. That's the part that confuses you. You wake up, you try, you think, you plan, you even work harder than most days. But when you step back and look at your life, something feels off. Like time is passing, but nothing is catching up with it. Like you're running, but the distance never closes. Marcus is 33, not failing, not struggling in the obvious sense. He pays his bills, he delivers his work. People respect him, but respect feels different when it's not paired with progress. Every morning, he opens his laptop with a quiet expectation. Maybe today will feel different. Maybe today something will move, but most days end the same way they begin. Busy, but unchanged. And that's where the illusion tightens, because stagnation doesn't always look like stillness. Sometimes it looks like motion without direction. He scrolls through his phone late at night, not mindlessly, carefully, watching, observing, measuring. Old classmates announcing milestones, people younger than him building things that seem too fast to be real, creators talking about growth like it's predictable, structured, almost guaranteed, and each post plants a subtle thought. You're late. Not dramatically, not urgently, just enough to stay in his head, just enough to shift how he sees himself, because the most dangerous pressure isn't loud, it's quiet. It blends into your thinking until it starts sounding like your own voice. You should be further, you should be faster, you should have figured it out by now. Marcus doesn't panic. He adjusts, takes on more work, says yes more often, tries to compress time, but the harder he pushes, the heavier everything feels, because pressure doesn't create direction, it amplifies confusion, and confusion under pressure looks like effort, a lot of it, but none of it sticks. One night, after finishing 3 different projects that have nothing to do with each other, he leans back in his chair and notices something strange. He's exhausted, but not fulfilled, and that difference bothers him, because exhaustion should mean progress. Right? But it doesn't. Not anymore. And for the first time, a thought interrupts the usual loop. What if you're not behind? He almost dismisses it. Because it feels like an excuse, a way to feel better without fixing anything. But the thought lingers, and it doesn't come with comfort, it comes with tension. Because if he's not behind, then why does everything feel misaligned? He stares at his screen, unfinished tabs open, half-done work scattered across folders, ideas started but never deepened, and something clicks. Not everything that looks like progress is actually movement, some of it is just noise, and he's been surrounded by it. Worse, he's been participating in it, taking on work that pays but doesn't build, saying yes to things that fill time but don't move direction, consuming information that feels useful but changes nothing, and all of it creates one powerful illusion, that he's doing enough, but deep down he knows. He's not behind because he's slow, he feels behind because he's unfocused. That realization doesn't hit like motivation, it hits like exposure. Because now, the problem isn't external, it's internal. And internal problems don't fix themselves with more effort. They require clarity. The next morning, nothing changes on the outside. Same desk, same laptop, same routine. But something has shifted underneath. For the first time, he doesn't open his day with urgency. He opens it with observation. Watching how he moves, not judging, not correcting, just noticing. Where his attention goes, where his time leaks, where his energy drops. And what he notices is uncomfortable. He doesn't lack time, he lacks intention. Hours disappear, not because they're taken, but because they're given away, freely. To distractions that don't feel like distractions. To tasks that feel productive but lead nowhere. To decisions made out of habit, not direction. And suddenly, the illusion becomes clearer. It's not that everyone else is ahead, it's that he's been scattered. And scattered effort always feels slow, because it never compounds. That word sits with him. Compounds. He remembers when he first started learning his craft. The early days. Repetition. Frustration. Slow improvement. But it worked. Because it was focused. Now, everything is fragmented. And fragmentation kills momentum. That night, instead of trying to fix everything, he does something different. He writes one sentence. Not a goal. Not a plan. A filter. If it doesn't build the direction, it doesn't deserve the time. It feels simple. Almost too simple. But simplicity exposes truth faster than complexity. The next day he tests it. A new request comes in. Good money. Fast turnaround. But unrelated. He hesitates. The old version of him would say yes instantly, because saying no feels like falling behind. But now, he sees something he couldn't see before. Every yes that doesn't align delays something that does. He doesn't answer immediately. He sits with it, feels the discomfort. Because this isn't about time, it's about identity. And identities don't shift without resistance. He closes his laptop. Not to escape, but to think. Because for the first time, he's not trying to catch up. He's trying to understand where he's actually going, and that question changes everything. Because once direction becomes clear, speed becomes irrelevant, and the illusion starts to break. The next morning feels heavier, not because anything went wrong, but because clarity has consequences. Once you see what's been wasting your time, you can't unsee it. And that means every decision now carries weight. Marcus sits at his desk longer than usual before opening his laptop. Not distracted, not tired, just aware. Aware that what he chooses next matters more than it used to, because before, everything blended together. Now, everything stands out. And standing out makes it harder to lie to yourself. He opens his inbox, messages waiting, requests pending, opportunities sitting there, like they always have. But something feels different. Before, each one looked like progress. Now, they look like options. And options, without direction, are traps. He scrolls slowly, reading, evaluating, not based on money, not based on urgency, but based on one question. Does this build the direction? And for the first time, most of the answers are no. That realization hits harder than expected, because it means he hasn't just been distracted, he's been choosing distraction, not intentionally, but consistently. And consistency, even in the wrong direction, creates a life. That's what he's been living. A life built on scattered yeses. It doesn't collapse. It just never sharpens. So he does something uncomfortable. He starts declining. One message, then another. Each no feels heavier than the last, because every no sounds like risk, like missed opportunity, like falling further behind. The old voice returns immediately. You can't afford this. You need momentum. You're already late. But now, there's another voice. Quieter, but clearer. You don't need more. You need alignment. The battle isn't loud, it's subtle. Two versions of him negotiating in silence. One driven by urgency, the other by direction. And for the first time, urgency doesn't win immediately. That alone feels strange. By midday, his schedule looks lighter, almost empty. And that emptiness feels dangerous, because he's used to being full, busy, occupied. Now there's space. And space exposes something most people avoid. The truth of what you actually choose to do when nothing is forcing you. He stares at the screen. No deadlines screaming. No pressure pushing. Just time. Pure unstructured time. And for a moment he feels lost. Because without pressure, he doesn't know how to move. That realization unsettles him. Have I been relying on pressure to function? The answer is uncomfortable. Yes. Pressure gave him direction. Even if it was the wrong one. Without it, he has to choose consciously. And conscious choice is harder than reaction. So he sits there, not scrolling, not escaping, just facing it. And slowly, something shifts. He opens a project he's been avoiding, not because it's difficult, but because it requires depth. The kind of work that doesn't show quick results. The kind of work that forces you to stay in one place longer than feels comfortable. He begins, slowly, carefully, minutes stretch, no instant reward, no quick feedback. Just effort, and for the first 30 minutes, it feels wrong, like he's wasting time, like he should be doing something more productive. But he stays, because he knows that feeling, that urge to switch, to move, to escape depth. That's what's been keeping him stuck. An hour passes, then two. And something changes. Not dramatically, subtly. The work starts to connect. Ideas flow smoother. Decisions feel clearer. And for the first time in a long time, he feels something unfamiliar. Momentum. Not loud, not exciting, but steady, real. And that's when it hits him. Momentum doesn't come from doing more, it comes from staying longer. That realization lands deep, because it contradicts everything he's been doing. He thought speed would catch him up, but speed was scattering him. Depth is what builds. Days pass. He keeps applying the filter, not perfectly, but consistently, and the pattern becomes obvious. Every time he chooses alignment, the work feels heavier at first, but better later. Every time he chooses distraction, it feels easier at first, but emptier later. It's a trade. Always has been. He just never noticed it clearly. Until now. But change isn't linear, and just when things start to stabilize, he slips. A high-paying project appears. Too good to ignore. Too easy to justify. He tells himself it's different this time. That he can handle both. That one exception won't break anything. So he says yes. Immediately, his focus splits. The deep work slows. His attention fragments. And the old feeling returns. Rushed. Scattered. Disconnected. But this time, it feels worse. Because now he knows why. He finishes the project. Delivers it, gets paid, and feels nothing. No satisfaction, no progress. Just confirmation that misalignment has a cost, and it's not visible immediately, but it accumulates, quietly. That night, he sits in silence, no distractions, no noise, just truth. The illusion of being behind wasn't just about time, it was about direction. He wasn't late, he was divided, and divided effort always delays results, because nothing gets enough attention to grow. That realization changes something deeper, because now the solution isn't to work harder, or faster, or longer. It's to become someone who protects direction at all costs, someone who doesn't negotiate with distraction, someone who understands that every decision shapes identity, and identity shapes outcomes. He closes his laptop, not out of frustration, but with intention, because tomorrow won't be about catching up, it will be about staying aligned. And staying aligned is harder than chasing time, but it's the only thing that actually moves you forward. The shift doesn't announce itself. There's no moment where everything suddenly clicks into place and stays there. Because real change doesn't remove difficulty, it changes how you respond to it. Marcus still wakes up to the same world. Same notifications, same noise, same people moving at their own pace, but something inside him has gone quiet, not empty, precise. He no longer scans for where he stands compared to others. He scans for where his attention is going, and that one change rewires everything, because attention is direction. And direction, repeated daily, becomes identity. Weeks turn into months, not fast, not dramatic, but consistent. He keeps the filter. If it doesn't build the direction, it doesn't deserve the time. At first it felt restrictive. Now it feels freeing, because limits remove confusion. And confusion was the real weight he had been carrying. His days look simpler. Fewer tasks, fewer decisions, but deeper work. Work that stretches him. Work that forces him to stay when his mind wants to leave. And staying becomes his advantage. He notices something subtle. Time feels different now. Not because it's slowed down, but because it's no longer leaking. Before, hours disappeared unnoticed. Now they feel accounted for, not controlled, used, and there's a difference. Control creates pressure, use creates purpose. That difference is everything. One evening while reviewing a project, he pauses, not because something is wrong, because something is right. The quality, the detail, the clarity. It's better, not slightly, noticeably. And what's strange is, it didn't feel like improvement while it was happening. It felt like effort, repetition, boring, focused effort. But now, looking at the result, he sees it, the compounding, the thing that never shows up daily, but reveals itself over time. And suddenly, the illusion shatters completely. He was never behind. He was just interrupting his own growth. Every distraction, every misaligned decision, every scattered day. They weren't neutral, they were delays, not visible, but real. And once those delays were removed, progress didn't need to be forced. It started building on its own. That realization settles deep, because it removes the last excuse. It's not about time. It's about what you protect. Marcus leans back in his chair, not thinking about where he should be, not calculating his life against anyone else's, just observing what he's built, quietly, deliberately. And for the first time in years, there's no pressure to speed it up. Because he understands something now that most people never do. Speed is seductive, but direction is decisive. People chase speed because it feels like progress, but speed without direction only gets you lost faster. Direction, even slow, gets you somewhere real, and real always beats fast. The world outside hasn't changed. People are still posting wins, still announcing milestones, still moving at their own pace, but it doesn't reach him the same way anymore, because he's no longer measuring himself on their timeline. He's operating on his own, and when you do that, comparison loses its grip. Not because you force it away, because it becomes irrelevant. That's the final break. Not when you stop seeing others, but when their pace stops defining yours. Marcus closes his laptop and sits in the quiet. No rush to start something else. No urge to check anything. Just stillness. Not empty. Grounded. And in that stillness, the truth becomes undeniable. There was never a race. Only a story he believed. A story that said life moves on a clock, that success has a schedule, that falling behind is real. But none of it was true. Because the only thing that was ever real was where he chose to place his time and what he chose to protect. That's it. No hidden timeline. No universal pace. No countdown. Just decisions, repeated daily, until they form a life. So if you feel like you're behind, look closer. Not at the world. At yourself. Not at what others are doing. At what you're allowing. Because feeling behind isn't a time problem, it's a direction problem. And direction is always in your control, but only if you're willing to face it. Only if you're willing to remove what doesn't belong. Only if you're willing to stay when it gets boring. Because that's where everything is built, not in speed, in consistency, not in urgency, in alignment. And once you understand that, you stop chasing time. You start shaping it, quietly, relentlessly, without needing anyone to see it. Until one day, what looked slow becomes undeniable, and by then, you won't even care about being ahead, because you'll know something far more powerful. You're exactly where your decisions have placed you, and now, you finally know how to move. So stop asking if you're late. Start asking if you're aligned, because people who are aligned don't rush, they build, and what they build doesn't need a clock to prove its worth.